Is going to try to make a video on adding and subtracting fractions. We've been working on those for a couple weeks now, and I'm trying to pull it all together so that we can move on and try something different. So the first thing we're going to do is go over a flow chart for mixed numbers with adding and subtracting. I'm going to start by going over vocabulary. One of the hardest things about math as you get into upper division is that the vocabulary gets a little bit more difficult. So the first thing we're going to say is I want you to get out your math notebook and write down these definitions. You can pause the video, take your time, but I need you to be accountable for each one of these words. So first of all, the first word is fraction. It is a part of a whole. Example, 1/2. So if you look here, if our whole is going to be 2, we would only have one part of the two parts. Next vocabulary word is a whole number. The whole number are your counting numbers. Examples would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, forever and ever. It's not any fractions, not any decimals, not zero. Those are your whole numbers. Next, we're going to go down to mixed numbers. Mixed numbers are a whole number and a fraction. So you're going to have one whole part plus you could have 1/2 of another part. So if you think about, you might have a pizza and a half of a pizza. So you could eat 1½ pizzas. Numerator. This one often gets mixed up with denominator. Numerator is up. It's the top number in fraction. It is the part. You ate one out of the two parts of the pizza. Denominator. It's the bottom number in the fraction. It's the whole part. So if we divide our pizza into two parts, our denominator would be the 2, the bottom number. The last two vocabulary words are the improper fraction. That's when the numerator is larger than the denominator. Remember, the numerator is the top number, denominator is the bottom number. So an example of this is 8/5. The next word, equivalent fraction. It is a fraction written in two ways, but having the same value. An example of this is 1/3 is also equal to 2/6. If you notice, we can multiply 3 by 2 and it goes to 6. And we can multiply 1 by 2 and it goes to 2. The key for making equivalent fractions is that you either multiply or divide the top and the bottom number by the same number. Here we multiplied each, the top and the bottom, by 2. Now we're going to cover the steps to convert mixed numbers to improper fractions. We've tried this several times and you're quite successful at it when I say convert mixed numbers to improper fractions. When I notice the difference is when I want you to add two numbers. One of them has a mixed number. So the first thing we're going to do is I want to change this mixed number, which is 1 3/4, into an improper fraction. So if you look at this, 1 is our whole number, 3 is the numerator, and 4 is the denominator. To convert this to an improper fraction, we're going to multiply the denominator, which is 4, times the whole number, which is 1, to make 4. When you multiply new numbers, this makes a product. So what we do next is we add the numerator to the product of those two numbers. If we look here, we're going to add 3 to 4, because 3 is the numerator. The product of the whole number in the denominator is 4. So 4 plus 3 equals 7. That answer becomes the numerator of the improper fraction. So here's 7 right there. The denominator never changes. It stays as a 4. So you just keep the denominator all the way through when you're changing a mixed number to an improper fraction. Now that we have our mixed number turned into an improper fraction, we're going to rewrite this number as the improper fraction, which is 5/4 or 7/4, because I wrote that down wrong, plus 1/2. So let me change this to a 7 right here. Sorry. There. So this is 7/4 plus 1/2. So what we need to do is we need to come up with a common denominator. To determine the common denominator, we're going to list the multiples. When I mean multiples, that means I'm going to make the number bigger, but I'm going to basically skip count. So I'm going to come up with the multiples of 4. Those are 4, 8, 12, 16, 20. Now I can go on forever. Then I'm going to determine the multiples of the smaller number. The smaller number is 2. So I'm going to count by 2s. 2, 4, 6, 8. I go as high as I need to where I have a matching number. Here, I select the smallest number in both lists, and that number is 4. All right, now we know that the common denominator is 4. We need to turn the fractions into fractions that have a 4 for the denominator. And the word that we're going to use there is that the 1/2 needs to be turned into an equivalent fraction with the denominator of 4. If we recall from our equivalent fractions, we must multiply the top and the bottom times the same number. Since we want the 2 in the denominator to turn to 4, we would need to multiply it by a 2. Therefore, we have to multiply the 1 by a 2 in the numerator. So our old fraction of 1/2 is now written as, I could draw it, 2/4. So now we have 2 fractions to add that have the same denominator. Now it's simple. All we have to do is add, change the problem as you can tell, 7 plus 2 for your numerators. So I'm going to say 7 plus 2, and that equals 9. We always keep the denominator the exact same. So we just write our 4. So the answer to this addition problem is 9/4. Today, we're going to leave this as an improper fraction. Tomorrow, we're going to practice turning them back into mixed numbers with our calculator. Now it is your turn. I want you to do the exact same thing I've just done. You're going to list the steps that are involved to solve this problem. 2 2/5 plus 2/3. I also want you to solve the problem. So essentially, you're going to make 2 columns on your paper, one that has the problem being worked, and the other column will have the words of what you're doing. If you don't understand that, you can go back through and see how I wrote the words, what you were doing, like multiply 5 times 2 and add 2 to make an improper fraction. You're going to add that in with your steps that you're working. And present that to me. Put this in your notebook, and I will look for it tomorrow. Thank you. See you later.